What we really need to do is, if we really need to do an excellent job in box 2 and box 3, we have to fundamentally change both our strategy conversations and the way we execute in terms of designing systems and structures and metrics. Let me talk about how we need to change the strategy conversation. You see, typically when I go into organizations, I ask for the strategic plan, which describes the strategy. What I get is a 25-inch thick binder. Now, you can't prepare a 25-inch thick binder for box 2, box 3. It makes no sense, because so much is unknown and unknowable about the future. You cannot prepare a detailed plan. Perhaps you need a 25-inch thick binder for box 1. For box 2, box 3, we need a different document, what I call strategy architecture. And that strategy architecture has to be on a single sheet of paper. In fact, in my way of thinking, planning for the future is absolutely meaningless because so much is unknown and unknowable. But preparing for the future is extremely important. And preparing for the future requires this document called strategy architecture. And that strategy architecture has to be on a single sheet of paper. In fact, anytime you reduce something to a single sheet of paper, you can certainly get the whole organization aligned behind it. And on that single sheet of paper, you have to have 5 bullets. What are the 5 bullets? Bullet number 1 is nonlinear ships. We already alluded to this. Future is unknowable and unpredictable. Therefore, we are not asking you to say what are the nonlinear shifts which are going to fundamentally transform your industry in the next 10 years. You cannot predict all those nonlinear shifts. What we are asking you to do is to formulate hypotheses about those nonlinear shifts. Future is unknowable, therefore you can't predict the future. But as leaders, you have to have the ability to imagine the future. In fact, the whole point of leadership is to develop distinct points of view about the future. That's what leaders do. When I say you have to have distinct points of view about the future, what I'm asking you to do is to have hypotheses about the future. What are your hypotheses about non-consumers becoming consumers? About non-traditional competitors entering your industry? About new technologies creating new possibilities, etc., etc. And these hypotheses, you don't formulate in a vacuum. You always formulate based on what I call weak signals. There are lots and lots of weak signals today. As leaders, we have to have our antennas out. We have to be able to observe these weak signals. And based on the weak signals, you formulate hypotheses about how your industry will change. And again, the beauty of hypothesis is it can be completely wrong. Then the job of leaders is to collect evidence to test hypotheses, drop hypotheses which are no longer valid, add new ones. This is the sense in which I am asking you to really imagine the nonlinear shifts in the future. Again, the best way to predict the future is to create it. And if you want to create your future, first you have to imagine it. And that's the purpose of articulating and having a shared point of view about your hypothesis about the future. Bullet number 2 is strategic intent. What is your intent? And intent is always expressed for the future. What is your intent a decade from now? What do you want to become 10 years from now? Now, even though the intent is expressed for 10 years from now, it should be visual. Everybody should be able to see what you want to become. Now, I'm going to say much more about strategic intent presently. But let me give you an example of strategic intent. When Dr. Muhammad Yunus in 1983, when he wanted to solve the problem of the 166 villagers who desperately need a loan, His intent at that time was to put poverty in a museum.
Poverty is imposed on the human being. So something artificial which is put onto human being. Since it's artificial, it can be peeled off by correcting the system wherever we were wrong, where we were punished the people. And we can create a world completely free from poverty. Nobody will be a poor person on this planet. And then we can create our poverty museums, because there won't be any poor people around. Like there is no dinosaur around, so we go to the museum to see what the dinosaur used to be like. So now that the poor people are not here, but we read in the history, we read in the book, we read in the literature. So we'll be curious, our children will be curious to know what poverty was. So they will be taken to the poverty museum to see. And they'll be horrified to see that. And they will make decision in their life. This thing will never come back again. We have said goodbye to it, and they stay out of human society.
Bullet number 3 is core competencies. What are you good at as an organization? I'm going to talk about core competencies in a minute as well. To me, bullet number 4 is the most important. What I call annual priorities is nothing more than really articulating all the projects you're executing today. And all the projects you're executing today cannot be just in box 1. Actually, the projects you're executing today should have some bearing on the first 3 bullets: nonlinear ships, strategic intent, and core competencies. Therefore, they should be in 3 horizons. How many projects you're executing today will be in horizon number 1? Horizon number 1 is all box 1 projects. This is about really strengthening your core, investing in your scissors, because your scissors still has many, many years of useful life left, and you have to grow the scissors. This is all linear innovation. My rule of thumb is anywhere from 40% up to 60% of your resources should be in horizon 1. Remember, earlier I asked you to think about how does your organization spend its time in box 1, box 2, and box 3. And my rule of thumb in box 1, which is all about horizon 1 projects, is about 40 to 60% of the resources should be in box 1. That also means 40 to 60% of the resources should be in box 2, box 3. Again, you can calibrate for yourself where your organization falls vis-a-vis this ideal. So, in horizon 1, which is all about strengthening your core, you spend about 40 to 60% of your resources. Now, horizon 2 and horizon 3 projects are all box 2, box 3 ideas. The difference between horizon 2 and horizon 3 is horizon 3 is more risky as compared to horizon 2. Now, in horizon 2, what you're doing is you're growing the adjacencies. Here, what you're doing is you're taking your current core competence and pushing it outside of your core into an adjacent space. This could be an adjacent product space, adjacent customer space, or adjacent geography space. Adjacency growth is not terribly risky. Why? Because you're taking your core competencies, obviously you're good at that, and you're pushing it outside of your core into an adjacent space, obviously you understand your core. If you want an example, General Electric, in their aircraft engine business, they design aircraft engines. That is their box 1 business. Certainly, they continue to invest in the design and manufacture of aircraft engines. When they launched servicing the aircraft engines, that was an adjacency. That's a horizon 2 project. My rule of thumb is anywhere from 25% up to 35% of the resources should be to grow the adjacencies in horizon 2. how many projects you have, which will be in Horizon 3. Horizon 3 is entirely new concepts. This is where the Fosbury flop could be. This is where the $25 micro loan could be. This is where the $500 ECG machine could be. My rule of thumb is anywhere from 10% up to 20% of your resources should be around Horizon 3 experiments. Again, Horizon 3 is more risky as compared to Horizon 2. Why? Because in Horizon 2, what you're doing is, it is one step removed from your core. Whereas Horizon 3 is 2 or more steps removed from your core. It's a step-out project, therefore Horizon 3 is likely to be more risky as compared to Horizon 2. Bullet number 5 is new core competencies. You cannot get to the future by only leveraging your current core competencies. Part of creating the future is about embedding new capabilities as well. You have to go to the gym. You have to do different exercises, build different muscles in the body. That is also part of the box 1, 2, 3 journey. If you can reduce these 5 bullets on a single sheet of paper, then you can get the whole organization aligned behind it.